G'day guys, and welcome to another video on complex numbers. This one's just a short one today. We're going to be looking at powers of I. So we've defined I as equal to the square root of -1, or more usually that I squared is equal to -1. Okay, so that's kind of a definition, that I squared is equal to -1. We can then build up from that just using normal multiplication. So if I want to find out what I cubed is, then I cubed is just I times I squared. But I know by definition that I squared is -1, therefore I cubed is -I. Okay, and I can keep building up. I to the power of 4 is just I squared times I squared, and I know by definition that I squared is -1, so therefore -1 times -1 gives me that I to the power of 4 is 1. Okay, so far we've gone from I squared is -1, I cubed is I to the power of 4 is 1, and I to the power of 5 then is going to be I to the 4 times I, which is just I. And then I can keep going. I can keep maneuvering through and keep going to higher and higher powers. So I to the 6 now is just I times I to the power of 5. And I said that I to the power of 5 was I. So now we're back to I squared again, which is -1. And in fact, it turns out that from this point onwards, we just cycle through those 4 possible values for a power of I. It's either -1, -I, 1, or I. Just keeps going through those 4 possibilities. So we can then just come up with a real simple formula in terms of that power and just choose the appropriate one of those 4 to work out what the new power is. Okay, so we have that I to the power of 4k, whatever k happens to be, I to the 4k is going to just equal to 1. So any multiple of 4, in other words, for the power, if the power is a multiple of 4, then I to that power is going to equal 1. Okay, and the next power that we could consider would be I to the 4k plus 1. Just add 1 to the power. Okay, and since I to the 4k we've just said that that's equal to 1, then I to the 4k plus 1 would be equal to I. Thirdly, I to the 4k plus 2, that means it's got a remainder of 2. It's still an even number. It's now essentially a multiple of 2 rather than a multiple of 4. It's going to have an answer equal to -1. Okay, and finally, we've got I to the power of 4k plus 3, and this one has a value of -I. So all we have to do to work out a power of I is just determine, is it a power of 4? Is it a power of 4 with 1 remainder? Is it a power of 4 with 2 remainder? Is it a power of 4 with 3 remainder? One of those 4 possibilities, and then we can work out what the answer is. So it's nice and simple. And to finish up this short video, I can guarantee you, almost guarantee you, I won't say guarantee you, I can almost guarantee you that in this year's HSC multiple choice question, there's probably going to be a question that says I to the power of insert your year group here. So let's say when I'm making this video, it's 2021. So I to the power of 2021, all we need to do is determine, is 2021 a power of 4, a multiple of 4 I should say. Is it a multiple of 4 with 1 left over, a multiple of 4 with 2 left over, or a multiple of 4 with 3 left over? Okay, and for our example of I to the power of 2021, 2020 is a multiple of 4, 4 times 505, then we just have to add 1. So it's in that 1 left over category, which means that the answer is I.